Hello, this is a quick video tutorial for your visual resume. Now, many of you may be asking, like, why do I need to do a visual resume? The reason that I would encourage you to create a visual resume is that the current job environment is changing. We are just a more visual generation. And many companies are requesting not only a traditional resume that's like in a Microsoft Word or a Google Docs format, but they're also requesting a visual resume, which is like a slideshow version of your resume with images, with visuals. Now you're going to notice that underneath Module 3, I have a handout. I would encourage you to print it out. It's the visual resume handout. When you click on that, it is going to look like this. Now this first slide right here, this image, this is actually taken from a Prezi. Now you're going to notice that on the modules, there are several modules available to you, the Presume templates or a video example of a Presume. I'm sure many of you use Prezi presentation, the website prezi.com, but there's a new concept called a Presume, and I know it sounds weird like a shampoo. That's what my other students have said, but a Presume is essentially a Prezi that's a Prezi version of your resume. And if you click here on Presume templates, and I'm going to show you right here what it looks like. When you click on that, if you already have a Prezi account, you can, of course, just log into your Prezi. But if you don't have a Prezi account, and it's free to get one, you'll need to sign up for an account. And there's these different visual types of resumes. You don't have to use Presume as far as your structure for your visual resume. Some students hate Prezi. It's kind of either a love-hate relationship with it. I get frustrated with it as well. So I'm going to let it be your choice what type of slideshow creator that you use. If you want to use a Prezi, feel free to do so. If you want to use PowerPoint or Google Slides, that's fine as well. And there's a lot of free slide creator programs online if you want to use those as well. So again, although Prezi is kind of sort of the new kind of version of a visual resume, it doesn't mean it's the only one that you have to use. In fact, you're going to notice the student example that I offer you is actually in more of a slideshow version. If you click on that visual resume student example, okay, his is in more of a slideshow PDF version. His is not in a Presume version. But I would encourage you, if you want to look at the Presume example, you can click here, the video example of the Presume. And when you click on that, you'll just click here, and it's going to take you to this video. And if you play it, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it's like a video version of a Presume, so you can see what it looks like. Now, as far as for hours, I just encourage you to follow the structure that I've guided you through the handout that I provided. Again, this is a still shot from the Presume, but you don't have to use a Presume. You can use any slideshow creator for your visual resume. And as I mentioned, the reason I'm having you do this is traditional cover letters and resumes, that's very old school, but now there's new trends in hiring, and they do want to see more about you as a potential candidate for a position, and this is a more personalized way to do that. Okay, and as I mentioned, PowerPoint, Google Slides, Prezi is up to you. Now, you've already created likely your traditional resume. You are following a lot of the information in your traditional resume, and you're putting some of that information condensed into your visual one. So I've kind of walked you through first slide. So your first opening slide, have like an opening salutation, a photograph of yourself, your full name. As far as the student example, he just decided to go with his name and the position that he was going in. You'll notice on the Prezi example, she says hello. I mean, you could say hello, hi, and offer your name. It's kind of up to you how informal you want to be. I'm kind of a formal person, so I kind of like what my former student did with his name and his title. But if you want to be a little bit more informal, it's up to you. I would kind of go with your gut instinct on what you think you should do, but at least have your full name. Okay, now he waits about his photograph to the second slide, but you can put it on your first slide, like the Prezi has it on the first slide. I always encourage students, if you have a photograph, make sure it's a professional photo. You need to be kind of like a headshot, preferably. Obviously, you don't want to wear like clothing that's revealing or that has like a logo or anything like that or some saying on a t-shirt. Just ensure that you're neat, you're clean. Please don't have like any like selfies where you look provocative. That would make probably the person that's viewing this particular visual resume uncomfortable. You need to be professional, and looking seductive is not part of that. Just ensure, again, you're appropriately clothed. You have a kind, expressive facial expression. I mean, you don't have to smile like a Cheshire cat, but just have a pleasant expression on your face. So you look like you're a very welcoming person in your demeanor. Again, waist up is usually the best scenario as far as the photograph. And you don't have to go to like, a studio and pay somebody for this. Most of my students, they had a family member or friend take a picture of them like in front of a very clean wall or a pretty backdrop, usually nature or something like that, or a professional environment. It's up to you. Okay, just ensure it's appropriate. Now, as far as your second to fifth slides, overview your educational or work experiences in the same manner of the traditional resume. If you have more work experience than educational experience, flip these. Okay, it's kind of up to you, but flip them if one's stronger than the other. For your educational experiences, in the same way that you did it in your traditional resume, have the full names of the schools, whether they're colleges or high school, your months, years of attendance, follow the same structure as on the traditional resume, and your degrees awarded. Like if it's an associate's. Okay. Also, if there's any photographs that relate to your educational experience, you can put that. You might have a photo of yourself with your graduation regalia, or just a photo of your awarded degrees, like your diploma. For work experiences, list again, similar to what you did on your hard copy resume, your full names of the companies, the businesses, your months, years of employment, the title of your position, and also your duties. You could also add a photograph of yourself in that position. If you have like a picture of yourself from a company newsletter or a picture of you in uniform, that could be applicable here. But don't feel like you have to have pictures of yourself. You can use the company's logos for clarity as well. Now, your sixth to eighth slides mention any involvement you have with volunteer organizations, community outreach. Again, it shows that you're willing to work for the community, which is close within the business. And if you have photographs of yourselves actually doing that particular volunteer work, it's going to look really great. And you can also use the logo of the organization or community event as well. Your ninth to 10th slides, if you have any cool travel or personal experiences that you think benefited you, again, culturally, where you maybe even learned another language, you could give photographs from the trip or event. Now, don't have like a photograph of you in a bikini with a mixed drink. That would be probably inappropriate. But if you want to have a photograph of you mingling with the locals or at a particular destination, as long as it's, appropriate for a formal setting, feel free to do that. And the 11th to 12th slides, overview your main interest and values. If family is important to you, if faith is important to you, if you love golf, if you love, a particular type of music, you can put those personal interests because it might connect with the employer. And again, if you have photographs of yourself participating with those hobbies or images, feel free to do that. And as I mentioned, if they're photographs, just ensure that they're appropriate. If you like to cosplay, don't be wearing something provocative. It needs to be something appropriate. And on your last slide, which potentially could be your 13th slide, have a closing slide with a closure of thanks. I mean, if you want to say goodbye, thank you for your time, you could do that as well. And you might want to have your name again at the end. And have a final photograph of yourself, maybe a different photograph from the first one, so the employer can really remember your face. Notice I said 13th slide. You don't necessarily have to have this many. I had some students that have had 10 slides, some who have had 7. I just wanted to give you kind of a range of how you could set up your structure. Notice my student who turned in his example does not fit this exact structure. And the Prezi, which that was not my former student, but just the concept of the Prezi, it has a few differences in it. But just make sure in the same manner that you structured your traditional resume, you need to ensure that you follow a clear structure with your visual resume. Proofread, ensure that everything formatted is clear, clean, and I'm going to show you again my student's example. It's the same student who you saw his resume and his cover letter for reference. And again, remember that with this particular student, he is looking toward the future of the future job he wants to do after he finishes his university. Yours might be a position that you want to actually seek out now with your current educational job experiences. So he did not put his picture on the front on the first slides, the very front of the visual resume. He actually decided to put it in the second, which that's fine if you want to do that. But he talks about himself just kind of when he describes himself with some adjectives. He describes himself. He also gives his educational background. Again, this is fictional because he hasn't done this yet, but these are his future goals. His character traits. He tries to be very visual, which this looks good. His experiences, job internships. Again, these are, some of these are anticipated, but then like what occupations that he's done at this point. That's what he offers. And he's going to build upon that. His education, which notice he doesn't put the specifics yet because he hasn't done this yet. So you can also look forward to how you want to set up your resume and fill in the blanks as you fulfill these particular diplomas and experiences. He puts the diplomas and degrees. Again, most of these are fictitious. Pretty much the Moss Point and the Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College are current, but he has not done the USM or University of South Alabama. But he's looking forward to it. He's anticipating he's going to do it. I'm sure he will. Any academic awards, you could list those here. And he actually puts these are current awards and leadership roles that he has. And he ends with his contact information. If you just want to end with an image, it doesn't necessarily have to be you, but it might just be an image that you think is appropriate or has deep meaning to you. Just ensure it's appropriate. But please remember the visual resume, although it is a little more informal in nature, don't take that informality to the extreme with your photographs or with your phrasing. A lot of the information you're going to copy and paste over from your traditional resume. This is just a more visual form, and you may not ever be requested to have a visual resume, but it's going to kind of give you an edge if you send one with your traditional resume and cover letter because you're taking the extra step. And in this particular job climate right now, it's very competitive and you need to give yourself an edge. And if your edge is just by doing a visual resume, then do it. It's not that difficult of a task. This is for a grade, but I'm hoping it will benefit you later as you're searching out the job of your dreams. As always, if you have questions about this assignment, ask me, but have fun with this one. You can really have fun with the visual resume. Let me see your personality a little more so than you get to see with the traditional resume, which is kind of flat and can be kind of boring, but this one can be a little bit more personalized. This student's was very serious. The Prezi one was a little bit more lighthearted. I'm going to let you decide what you're comfortable in doing because you don't need to necessarily get out of your comfort zone if you don't want to with a job. I mean, you want to show your current personality. And if you're kind of someone who plays it safe, you may want to show that in your visual resume. If you're someone who likes a challenge and you like to kind of go outside your comfort zone, you may want to take a few little risks with your visual resume. But just make sure it's a risk you're worth taking because you might not get a job if you take too much of a risk. So hopefully you're enjoying learning this new skill set of a visual resume. And again, I hope you find it interesting. Thank you.